Hey, it's Paul and welcome back to Y&R Update. I figured I'd stay in the tux. I kind of like this look. I'm not going to do it every day, but I really like it. We've got a really busy show today and I want to jump right into things. The first thing we see is Sharon and Avery, and they insist that Michael goes to the hospital. Now, he says he'll go as long as they don't tell Lauren. Now, what are the odds of that happening? Because Lauren shows up because Avery had gotten a hold of her and she reads Michael the riot act about overworking himself. But Michael is really not in a good space. He tells Lauren that she treats him like a broken invalid who needs to be pitied, and he doesn't want that. So what does he propose? He proposes a separation. Now, this is out of left field. Lauren knew he was going through tough times, but she did not see this coming, and she is crushed. He says he's tired of working so hard to keep them together, but what we really know is that Michael is pushing her away because he doesn't want to be pitied, because he feels like she's being there out of a strong sense of obligation, and he doesn't want to hold her back. He's trying to do the right thing, but it's obviously backfiring because he's hurting her more than he knows. But eventually, Lauren accepts and she walks away. So this will be an interesting storyline. We have a lot more to come on it, I'm sure of it. We'll have to keep watching it. We also see Dylan, and he does not want Avery to stay with Joe out of guilt or obligation, and he's having this conversation with Joe, and he definitely does see Joe as a threat, even though Joe turns around and tells him, as we knew before, that he is responsible for everything that happened, and everything Dylan thought he was doing, he did. But eventually Dylan runs into Avery, and they kind of sort things out in a sense that he's not okay with it, but he understands why she's doing what she does, and they decide that they were going to have a special day together, have a dinner, spend some time together before she goes off with Joe. But a couple things get in the way. The first thing is, miraculously, there's a flood over Crimson Lights, something with the pipes. The plumber has to get called over. They're mopping the floor, and it looks like they might have a little time together, but that's quickly dashed because the phone rings, and Joe's day for being moved out to Chicago to the facility has been moved up, and he has to go that night. So Dylan and Avery don't have that night, and in my opinion, it looks like the last night they're going to be together. I actually don't think we're going to see this couple together again, which is sad, but we'll have to follow and see if I'm right or wrong. We also see Noah, and he tells Nick that Courtney's parents don't want him anywhere near her funeral, so obviously that's crushing to him. And then we see a reporter show up, and this guy is as sleazy as they come. He mentions Sharon's trial right in front of Faith, and Faith has now got a bunch of questions. So Nick does what he can as a dad. He ushers this guy out, and he has Noah watch Faith. But while he gets out there, the reporter gets even sleazier, and he starts bringing up Sharon's bipolar condition. And he asks if the bipolar condition can be passed down one generation to his daughter. Now Nick flips, and Noah's standing right by him. Nick decks the reporter. I mean, good for you. This guy was an idiot. And they've got to go back and explain to Faith. Now, they don't think Faith has seen, but she really has seen it, and she's got a lot of questions. Now, these questions fall on Noah because Nick has left, and Noah's really hard-pressed to tell her what happened to his mom. At first, he denies it, but eventually, all Faith wants to do is go see her mom, and he takes her to her mom. Now, Sharon tries to explain the best way that she can what happened, and what she's saying is that there are a bunch of things that she's done that she does not feel proud of, but there are some things that she's done that she's not responsible for, but she's basically being set up. Now Faith really does understand, and she loves her mom a lot, and they have a really kind of touching moment together because Noah steps up and he says he does believe in his mom. And finally it's good to have that question answered because it's been going back and forth, because Noah is angry over the death of his fiancée Courtney. And as this happens, Nick walks in. Now, you'd think that Nick would be a little sympathetic, but it doesn't quite go that way. In fact, the two of them fight, and Nick just lets Sharon have it. And they're going back and forth when all of a sudden Dylan walks in, and he tells him to stop it. And this is the first time we've actually seen Dylan stand up to Nick as far as Sharon goes. So I think there's a little bit of foreshadowing about them. I know we're going to see them as a couple. I don't think it will be too long. Eventually, Nick says, you know what, you're on your own. Don't say I didn't warn you. And he leaves, and we see Sharon sort of breaking down, and Dylan embraces her. So we can see with the two couples which way they're going. I don't think you're going to see them turning back in this direction. In fact, I'd be shocked. Now after that, we see Hillary, and this is an amazing scene. Once again, this couple has got so much chemistry. It really does you get chills whenever they're on screen, and it's amazing to see. Now, she insists that she's telling Devon the truth, in fact, that she loves him and that this was all a ruse, meant to protect Neil. Now, Devon finally, they're in a hotel room. He's got nowhere to run. He's actually sitting down and listening, and they start reminiscing over when they met. And, you can sort of see it playing through your head, all the touching times they had, because as they mention them, you start remembering them all, and you can see him changing. And more importantly, she said, all the dreams that they had before, the fact that she wants a family, those dreams are still there. And I think that's it for Devon. I think he finally realizes that he has one chance with her, and he lays a kiss on her. And you can see, the heavens have opened. Excuse the pun. But it looks like they're on the way back to each other. Now, what I forgot to mention is that Neil has run into Gwen. Now, you remember Gwen, she played Devon's girlfriend previously. Now, they sort of come together, and Neil's a bit angry with her, and he tells her, that he didn't like the fact that she was, basically Devon's beard masquerading as his girlfriend. And she explains that she did not know that they, had something going on, Devon and Hillary. And in fact, she thought he was gay at first. And then she found out, obviously, that he wasn't. But the two of them sort of have a bit of a coming together, and I think I see something coming, as far as the two of them. And then they meet later, and they're talking a little bit more about it, and Neil is basically saying to her that, Devon did go through this. Yes, there was a betrayal, but he's learned that Hillary is all about manipulation and lies, and he's not going to go down that road again. And what happens? Devon and Hillary are coming down the steps of the hotel. Now, this looks really bad. Hillary turns around and goes back upstairs because she knows this is going to be fireworks, especially with Gwen and Neil standing there. Now, Devon explains it away to Neil as it's not what he thinks. They sort of have a conversation about Hillary, but Devon is not going to come clean with Neil, and this is going to lead to more heartbreak for Neil because he hates being kept in the dark. Excuse the pun. Sorry, the guy was blind. But this is not going to end well, because Neil reminds Devon that he's actually accepted a position at Newman as the CFO, Abbott Newman actually, as the CFO, and it means that he will be working with Gwen and Hillary. So expect a lot of fireworks as far as that is concerned. Also, we see Jack, and more comedy with Fake Jack. Fake Jack is ordering a Ferrari, and Victor comes in and tells, same thing. He reads him the riot act, says he's going to have him thrown into this jail. I did spoil Neil's surprise, but Jack and Victor invited Neil to in for a little sit down, and they offered him the job as CFO of Newman Enterprises. Now, it's really tough for Neil because he's just gone through hell, but he's willing to listen to them. And as he starts asking about how these guys can be so kumbaya, so in sync, he starts peppering Jack with questions. Now, Jack is not really great with the questions, and Victor is really cautioning him against exposing himself, but he actually makes a slip up but then recovers. He can't remember certain things about how Neil had casual days and playing jazz music in the building, but he does manage to cover up that fact, and he has a heart-to-heart with Neil and tells him that Victor and him are on the same page. He really wants Neil there, and Neil accepts the job. Now, also going on, we've got Nikki and Phyllis, an unlikely duo, and they have a meeting, and they're sort of wondering about Jack and Victor, if this is what it's supposed to be, if it's what it looks like, and if one of them or both of them have an agenda. Now, they both think that they both are up to something because they know both of these men really well. So they think the best way to fish them out is to have them over for a dinner and try and get some information out of them. So they invite them to this dinner, but Jack and Victor are together. Now, Victor cautions Jack against doing this. He thinks it's too soon. He thinks he'll be tripped up and exposed. But eventually, Jack pleads his case, and they go along with it, and they show up. Now, right away, Phyllis starts, and Nikki start peppering them with questions, and Jack trips up because he can't remember any details about China. Now, just when it looks like it's falling apart, he sort of pulls it back together and reminds both women that he and Victor were trapped in the rubble, were trapped together in a hospital room, and they've decided to be friends. They've decided that love and family are everything to them, and they're going to go forward with this, and they've had this coming together. Now, knowing what both men went through, in fact, they were all in the cave-in together. The women say they understand, and Nikki sort of gives it her blessing, and they end up being okay with it. And at the very end, we see Victor shake Fake Jack's hand, tell him he's actually happy with the job he did, and Fake Jack runs off to order his Ferrari, and that's where we leave things. I want to thank you all for checking out Y&R Update. Don't forget, follow us on social media. Please subscribe and follow, and tell your friends about it. We're having a great time. I hope you are, and we'll talk to you soon.